Hi, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about the 7 myths about heaven that you really need to know right now. I'm Diana Palm, and I am the medium helping you heal the grief from heartbreak and loss. Today we're going to go into every one of the 7 myths about heaven, and I'm going to explain to you truly what is happening on the other side and in the afterlife. Okay, so the first one, now these are myths that you may have been handed down by your family, by your community, or by whatever religion that you grew up in or belong to now. But these truths that I'll be sharing with you are coming directly from my own authentic connection with the afterlife. I'm 54, so 54 years of working with the other side, working with the paranormal, working with hospice, working with thousands and thousands of clients, and always having one foot on the physical plane and one foot into the spiritual world. Much of my healing is about the other side and about helping loved ones cross over and helping the living loved ones heal their grief. So, this is the area of my specialty. So, that being said, the first myth that you need to know is that heaven is all these pearly gates and white columns and pillars, and that all the angels are up in heaven. Now, what the truth is actually is that you create your own heaven. And I see this time and time with my clients after they pass and I've crossed them over, or if they cross over on their own, I see them in a heaven that is something of their own creation. It is made from all the things that make them feel safe, loved, comforted. Sometimes heavens are quite lavish, and sometimes they're simple, like a little cabin in the woods, or being on the water, boating, fishing, whatever your heart's desire is when you're living. This is how you create heaven, because heaven is not physical. Many people forget this. And so the human mind wants to create pillars like, big buildings up in heaven. And that's just not true. Heaven is non-physical. It's energy. And because this physical plane is also energy, but it's denser, so physical structures exist here. When you're in heaven, it is very much created from your mind and your energy of all the things you love, all the things that please you, delight you. And there are angels that assist you in getting into what we call heaven. But the angels are really more intermediaries that work between the planes. They work between the earth plane and that heaven that we call the afterlife. So, yes, angels can be there to help you and support you. Um, they are designed for your assistance, and that's why we need to call upon them from the earth plane every time you need help. They can't interfere with you because you have free will. So, speaking to your angels frequently while you're on earth is actually what they're meant to do. So, call upon them whenever you need help. They're not sitting there in heaven waiting for you. They're here on earth helping you out. They're in between those two planes. They're the intermediary, they're the helper, and that's a way that we draw in heaven's help on earth. So that's maybe different than what you've heard or what you've been accustomed to thinking about. Okay, so the first one again, you create your heaven. Every single version of heaven is delightfully different. I've seen so many. Some of my own loved ones have shown me their heavens, and they're like all kinds of animals and perfect habitats with clean air and clean water, strange looking animals, different hybrids. I've seen people golfing on the other side, and they will show me when they first interact with another loved one who's already on the other side waiting. They'll meet them on the golf course and shoot a game together. There's so many beautiful things that I'm shown. So you are the one that is creating your heaven. Okay, the second myth is that only religious people are in heaven. They're the only people with that key to the Golden Gate, right? Unfortunately, this is man's creation. People that created dogma and churches and religious organizations really wanted to feel like they were the only one, that you had to go to heaven through them. And that's not true. Many people are waking up to the truth that you can have your own divine connection with the Creator, that you can actually go to heaven without being religious or joining a special organization, that you have the ability, because you're a spiritual being, that you already are spiritually connected, that you can and that you do have the divine right to have that your own personal relationship with God or whatever deity that you connect with. So it's really important to know that. People, when they say that, I often find that's very, very harmful. It's usually, very orthodox people that are super critical and judgmental of all the other people that aren't doing what they are, as if being pious and being all these things are going to help them get there. But isn't that exactly opposite of what we're told about God? I mean, whether you call it God, creator, source, energy, whatever it is, the truth is the highest vibration and the most divine vibration is kindness and love. There's no room for judgment or boosting your ego to make you feel like you're more in alignment with being there, that you're better than all the other people that are not in a religious affiliation. So it's really important to know that it comes back to your own soul. How kind and how loving are you? Nobody keeps you out. And that actually leads me to my next myth that I'm going to bring about. Hi, JP. Thank you for tuning in. Okay, so my next myth, the third myth, is that on your judgment day, when you die, God will decide to put you in heaven or hell. So let me just relieve your mind right now. That is absolutely not true. You were given a great gift. You have free will. And because of your free will, you write your certain death doors into your timeline. You select which one to go through. And when you get to the other side, there's a window of time that you make a decision. And when you make the decision, you make the decision. You're the one that allows yourself to elevate spiritually and go into the light. Or the alternative is you stay earthbound. Now, there are some souls that are very troubled. Some suicides, not all suicides, but a lot of suicides actually get stuck in a different place. And that's because they're suffering with so many things prior to the suicide that they can't even access the light. They can't see it, just as they couldn't in life. They couldn't see the hope or the way out of their problems. And so on the other side, they embody a very similar energy. And on top of that, they're afraid that God will judge them because we've been told that it's so wrong to do this, right? And so religiously, they're afraid of being judged. And so they stay put and they kind of stay in a dark space. So it's really important to know that, because they are not being judged and they are not being kept away from heaven. In fact, I work with a lot of people who want to do a healing session around the loss of their loved one. And because that's one of my gifts, I open up the doorway, so to speak, and I do healing for them and just bring them into their peace and into their light where they can then heal. So that's really important to know. There is nobody that's judging you. You judge you. And ultimately, that is what free will is about. So it's important that you guys know that. I have seen some spirits turn away from the light. Some people are like, well, why wouldn't I just go to heaven? But many people are afraid of that judgment. They're afraid, like the one thing they did 30 years ago that they still feel guilty about, they're going to sit in front of God and be judged, because that's the way we were taught. There was a lot of fear put into our religious upbringings. And that's just not the way things go. There is karma. There is a balancing out. There is healing of past pain and things that we did that harmed people. But it is not based on judgment or preventing you from moving on. I'll explain that more in just a little bit. Okay, so it's based on the way you live and your decision. Okay. The fourth myth that I would like you to know. Some people believe that their loved ones stay the same. So I've heard a lot of people go, geez, I don't want my loved one to ever come around and visit me once they're gone, because they were an a-hole. They were abusive. They were neglectful. They were mean. They were just mean in spirit. So once they move into the light and they're in their spiritual being, they kind of lose the ego and they see clearly. This is part of the process that happens after they die. There is a life review. They do reflect on all the things that they did, how they impacted their loved ones, what they brought to the world, what they contributed. Were they a happy person? Were they a kind person? Or did they bring suffering to others? There's all of these things that are part of the process. There are many soul lessons that are learned, and they're not learned to keep them in a state of misery or like to carry it forward or just to stay in shame. It's not about that. It's almost like third person. When they see what they did in their lower selves, they're now operating out of their higher selves and they want to do better. So that's why if people have wronged you and they have passed away, many times those same souls will come to you as a sort of guide. Number one, they want to help you heal the things that they may have caused trouble for in your life. So if somebody was an abusive parent, for instance, and they die early, they may assign themselves to come back as a guide for you spiritually and to see the harm that they did. They already know that because as soon as they're a spirit, they see the truth, and they want to heal the energy between you and them. They want to heal what they have created or caused. And so they often will assign themselves and stay close in your energy field to help guide you, to help heal you, and to help restore you. This is very important to them spiritually, and they wouldn't know that if they didn't cross over, go to the other side. They have to have that higher spiritual mindset to know the impact and the importance of this. So sometimes, people say like, I don't want the person around. No, it's okay because they're not who they were when they were a person. They're quite literally the highest version of them that wants to create the peace that your soul really needs. There's nothing that is more healing than balancing that energy, especially when you've been carrying a lot of pain from being abused or neglected, and then having a certain energy come around that you feel love from instead of how you associate the past pain with them. So there is something very special that happens there in that connection. Not all of them choose to be your spirit guides. Sometimes they just help you in different ways. When they choose to be one of your spirit guides, they will stay real close to you and really dedicate themselves to you. But often they will just oversee, just from a little bit further distance away. And still they have your highest and best interest in mind. They still want to help you. They're just not dedicated to your daily choices every single day. Let me make sure I read all my notes here. Okay. Yeah. They just mostly want to heal the energy, and they want to see your pain turn back into potential. They want to help you heal the things that they did wrong. And we have to remember this, hurt people hurt people. It's not like the person that hurt you just suddenly ended up that way. That came from a line of other people who hurt them, right? And so when they stay around you spiritually to heal this, they're not claiming victimhood in that or anything like that. They're taking accountability, but there's also a softening of they need to heal this energy and find balance and peace with it too, because most likely they were a victim of several other people first, and then that energy has continued to move along. So it's pretty amazing when you can decide to be the living human, the individual that chooses to release all that. And that's where forgiveness comes from, where we stop blaming other people, we stop feeling like a victim, we feel the energy is balanced. That string of perpetual abuse has now ended, and all that energy has been transmuted and released. So that's really what that energy is about. So don't be afraid to, if somebody says, your dead mother is coming back to visit you and she wasn't a nice person, don't be like, oh no, I don't want her around. She's not who she was as you knew her. And I'm not picking on mothers. I'm just saying, for instance, when they come back spiritually, when they come back from the other side to visit or to connect with you and let you know they're around, it is an entirely different version of them. It is really more their soul who you're speaking with, not the outside shell of a personality that you engaged with when they were living. Okay. So number 5, the 5th myth I want you to know is that, oh, wait, 1 second. Oh, yes. Okay. Sometimes you guys have been told, the living people, they're so afraid of mediumship or spirit communication. It's been just projected into the masses that it's wrong, that it's bad, that it's dark, that you have to invoke spirits, that you have to call them from the depths, and it's all this dark drama around it, right? And so many of you feel like that it's wrong and bad and against God. And it absolutely is not. There's others of you that feel like I don't want to call upon my deceased relatives because I might be pulling them away from something more important. Or, maybe they need to be with their spouse after they became a widow, and I don't want to call them away because that person needs them more. That's not the way it is on the other side. Once you go into the light, you're a spiritual being, which means you're in all places at once. I tell people this: the loved ones that you have connection with, that you had contracts with, you know this because you've been sharing your life with them already. When they pass and they go into the light, parts of them infuse with you. They're so closely connected with you. They're always around you. You don't have to call them in or do a big ritual around your connection with them. It's very organic. It's very natural. And because they're not stuck in a physical body like we are, they can literally be in all places with all their loved ones simultaneously. So if you're missing a loved one that passed and you want them around you, you're speaking the desire out loud or even just quietly just alerts them that you want to have connection, that you want to have communication, because the connection is right there. The connection is already established. It's still with you. But letting them know that you'd like to communicate and interact with them, that's what allows them to kind of activate more in your field and be able to communicate better with you. So you don't have to do any big special ritual. It's just a matter of intending it and then just making sure your energy is clear so you're receptive to that communication. Okay, the 6th myth is that all souls go to heaven. And that's false. Because we have free will, many souls avoid the light. They're afraid to go into the light. Many of them actually, because of fear of judgment. Sometimes it's not that. Sometimes they don't want to go into the light because they feel like they'll be too far away from their loved ones, especially if they have young children. I've also seen this with military, people that die in battle, where sometimes they don't even know that they have passed because the death happens so suddenly that's why battlefields are so often haunted. They literally still are in the moment of when they pass. They're still thinking that they're in battle, even though it was 100 years ago. So those types of deaths where they're real sudden, real tragic, and there's not even a consciousness about what has occurred, they will not move forward. They kind of stay earthbound. So not all souls go to heaven. They do need some help. And when they need help, all it takes is a medium with the skills to be able to cross them over and release them from the earth plane so that they can carry on. Okay. And that's one of the things I find important. I'm trying to think if there's any other reasons they don't go into the light. Sometimes, the earthly drama prevents them from wanting to go into the light. Like I said, like many times with the suicide, if they're still so caught up in the pain that they're holding on to, the problems that they had, they're not feeling like they can vibrationally shift into the light. They're maybe afraid of judgment. They may feel like they're unworthy, and many of us are taught that right in our religion, though you're unworthy. So there's a lot of things that come up in people before they go into the light that prevents them from moving there. But going into the light is where the spiritual evolution occurs. And that's why I've always included it, by the way, in my #1 spiritual grief healing program called Reconnect. It's one of the sessions that we do. It's a 9-week program. And one of the sessions I do connect with your loved one just to ensure that they're there and to clear any trauma energy that binds them to the earth plane. We clear all that just to make sure that they're where they should be and that we can communicate with them and then help prepare you for more regular interactions with them as you move forward. So it's very, very important work. And the last one, the 7th myth that I'd like you to know about, there's like this really harmful, kind of like a dark rumor going around, because when I've posted videos like this before, I've had people jump on my YouTube and put these really ignorant comments on there that if you go into the light, that you're becoming part of the karmic wheel and it's a dark, conspiracy and blah, blah, blah. And so they try to tell people not to go into the light. Now, you have to consider the source, okay? These might just be internet trolls that don't know what's going on. I don't know, and I don't really care. What I do know is that I've been working with the spirit world my entire life. I have spiritual vision. I help people get to heaven. I see what happens to them on the other side. I also see when they're reincarnated. I see how the whole scope of a soul is experienced, and it's beautiful and meaningful. And we are in a karmic cycle anyway. We are all evolving through lifetimes, and this is how the soul has chosen to evolve and have experiences and to learn to be more loving. So going into the light does not mean that you're becoming part of the karmic wheel. You already are. If you do not go into the light, you stay earthbound. You do not heal. You do not have a life review. You do not learn your soul lessons. You do not evolve spiritually. So being earthbound is what they're trying to tell people to do. Avoid the light, avoid the light. It's like that can, because of how I work and what I work with, I can tell you that it was some sort of dark energy that created that and has spread that around the population. It's absolutely false. So if you've heard that, or if you're one of the people that wants to put that on my YouTube, you will get deleted. It is not relevant and it is absolutely not true. So I'd like to just put that to rest right now. Okay, so let me know down in the comments if you learned something today from my video, and if you have any questions about that, let me know as well. This is what I do. I love working with you guys on just, I work with the living to help heal your life and understand all these spiritual things and how they impact your life and make it better and more meaningful and purposeful and more fulfilling. But I also help you on the other side, those of you that need help once you pass, and I help bridge the gap because there's so much healing in afterlife connection. Also, if you want to know more about that, I do have my latest book is Death in the Afterlife. And I take people through near-death awareness through planning for your funeral, the different interpretations of all of that, how to connect what your loved one is going through as their body's shutting down, they become more spiritual, what those types of choices are. I mean, I go way into it to share a lot of spiritual knowledge and then share some gifts for how to make it easier for you to be more aware of your loved ones in the afterlife and how you can connect with them to communicate with them directly. So yeah, be sure to check that book out. It's on Amazon. It's just called Death in the Afterlife. I also have the links below this video if you're on YouTube. Okay, you guys. So thank you so much for being here. If you like the video, please share it, give me a like, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.